You never think it'll be your sister. That's the thing about betrayal. You prepare yourself for strangers, for coworkers who get too friendly, for exes who resurface, for all the predictable ways a marriage can crack. But your sister, the person who shared a room with you growing up, who knows your worst fears and your deepest secrets, you never see that coming. I found out on a Tuesday, the most ordinary day. I was working from home, finished early, and decided to surprise my husband with lunch. He'd been distant lately, quiet, distracted, always on his phone. I told myself it was work stress, that we'd talk about it when things calmed down. I made his favorite sandwich, grabbed 2 coffees from the place he loved, drove to his office feeling almost hopeful, like maybe this small gesture would remind us both of who we used to be. His car was in the parking lot, but when I got to his office, his assistant looked confused. "He left about an hour ago," she said he had an appointment. "What kind of appointment?" She shrugged. He didn't say, just that he'd be back later. I stood there holding 2 coffees and a paper bag, feeling stupid. He'd been lying about where he was. I got back in my car, drove around aimlessly for a few minutes. Then I did something I'd never done before. I checked his location on our shared phone plan. He was at an address I didn't recognize, a residential neighborhood about 20 minutes away. I told myself not to go, told myself I was being paranoid, that there was probably a perfectly reasonable explanation. But I went anyway. The address led me to a small apartment complex. His car was parked out front. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, heart pounding, trying to decide what to do. Knock on the door, call him, drive away and pretend I'd never been there. Then the apartment door opened, and my husband walked out with my sister. They were laughing about something. Her hand was on his arm. He leaned in and kissed her forehead. Not a brotherly kiss, not a friendly goodbye. Something else entirely. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Just sat there watching 2 people I loved more than anyone destroy me without even knowing I was there. They stood outside for a few more minutes, talking quietly, smiling like they had all the time in the world. Then he got in his car and left. She went back inside. I waited until he was gone. Then I drove home, walked into our house, the house we'd bought together, decorated together, built a life in together. And I threw up. Not from shock, from understanding, because suddenly everything made sense. The distance, the late nights, the way he'd pull away when I tried to touch him, the way my sister had been acting strange at family dinners, avoiding eye contact, leaving early. How long had this been going on? I sat on the bathroom floor for an hour, trying to process what I'd seen, trying to figure out what to do next. Part of me wanted to scream, to call them both and rage and demand answers. But another part of me, the part that had built a successful career by staying calm under pressure, knew that rage wouldn't help me. I needed a plan. I got up, washed my face, made a cup of tea with shaking hands. Then I started thinking. My husband, Daniel, had always been the creative one, the dreamer. I was the practical one, the planner, the one who made sure bills got paid and investments got made and our future was secure. Which meant I knew exactly where everything was, every account, every asset, every piece of our financial life. And I knew something else too. Legally, I had options, but only if I acted carefully. I spent the rest of that afternoon documenting everything. taking screenshots of our joint accounts, copying important files, making lists of what we owned together and what was solely mine. When Daniel came home that evening, I was making dinner, acting normal. "Hey," he said, kissing my cheek. "How was your day?" "Good," I lied. "Quiet, how was yours?" "Busy, meetings all afternoon." I looked at him, really looked at him, at the man I'd married 8 years ago, the man who'd promised to love me forever. And I saw a stranger. "You okay?" he asked. "You seem distant." The irony wasn't lost on me. "I'm fine," I said, "just tired." We ate dinner in silence. He scrolled through his phone. I pushed food around my plate. Everything looked normal on the surface, but underneath, I was already planning my exit. Because I wasn't going to beg him to stay, wasn't going to fight for someone who was already gone. I was going to leave on my terms, with everything I'd earned. And he wouldn't see it coming. If stories like this speak to you, subscribe to the channel for more real-life emotional journeys. I didn't sleep that night. Lay next to Daniel in bed, listening to him breathe, wondering how many times he'd lain here thinking about her. My sister, Emily. She was 3 years younger than me. Always the pretty one, the fun one, the one everyone gravitated toward at parties while I stood in the corner being responsible. I'd never resented her for it, never felt competitive or jealous. She was my sister. I loved her. Had she loved me? Or had she been waiting all these years for a chance to take something that was mine? The next morning, I called in sick to work. Daniel left for the office like normal, kissed me goodbye like normal, lied to my face like normal. As soon as he was gone, I got to work. First, I called a divorce attorney. Not just any attorney, the best one in the city. The one who handled high net worth divorces and had a reputation for being ruthless. Her name was Patricia. She was in her 50s, sharp as a knife, and completely unimpressed by my emotional state. "Tell me everything," she said. "And I mean everything. No detail is too small." I told her about seeing them together, about Daniel's lies, about our finances. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked when I finished. "Once we file, there's no going back." "I'm sure." "Good, here's what we're going to do." She laid out a strategy that was both brilliant and completely legal. We'd file for divorce, but first we'd protect my assets, separate our finances, document everything. Most people make the mistake of confronting their spouse too early, Patricia explained. They get emotional, they tip their hand, and they lose leverage. You're going to stay calm, stay smart, and when the time comes, you're going to walk away with exactly what you deserve. Over the next 2 weeks, I followed her instructions to the letter. I opened a separate bank account and began transferring my paychecks there. We'd always kept our finances somewhat separate anyway. I made significantly more than Daniel, so he didn't notice. I changed the passwords on accounts that were solely in my name, made copies of important documents, created a paper trail showing which assets I'd brought into the marriage and which we'd acquired together. All while acting completely normal at home. I still made dinner, still did laundry, still slept next to him every night. It was torture, because every time he touched me, I thought about him touching her. Every time he said he loved me, I wondered if he was counting down the days until he could leave. I wanted to confront him, to scream and cry and demand the truth. But I didn't, because I was playing a longer game. About 3 weeks after I'd seen them together, my mother called to invite us to Sunday dinner. "Emily will be there too," she said. "It's been a while since we've all been together." My stomach turned. "Sounds great, Mom." Sunday came. Daniel and I drove to my parents' house in silence. He seemed nervous, fidgeting with the radio, checking his phone. Was he texting her, making plans for later? Emily was already there when we arrived. She hugged me tight, said she'd missed me. I hugged her back and felt nothing but cold rage. Dinner was excruciating. I watched them try not to look at each other, watched the way Emily's face flushed when Daniel spoke, the way his eyes followed her when she left the room. How had I never noticed before? Or had I noticed and chosen to ignore it, convinced myself I was being paranoid? After dinner, Emily asked if I wanted to help with dishes, just the two of us in the kitchen. "So," she said, scrubbing a plate, "how are things with you and Daniel?" The audacity of the question nearly broke me. "Fine," I said. "Why do you ask?" "No reason. You both just seemed quiet tonight. Wanted to make sure everything was okay." I looked at her, really looked at her. At my baby sister who I'd protected and defended and loved unconditionally for 28 years. "Everything's perfect," I said. She smiled, relieved. "Good, I'm glad." I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, gripped the sink and stared at my reflection. I looked tired, older, like someone who'd aged years in a few weeks. But I also looked determined. They thought they were being careful, thought I was oblivious. They had no idea what was coming. When we got home that night, Daniel said he needed to run out for a bit. "Forgot to pick something up earlier. I'll be back in an hour." "Okay," I said. He was going to see her. I knew it. And I didn't care, because in less than a week, I was filing for divorce. And then they could have each other, with nothing. Like this video, if this story touched something inside you. The day I filed for divorce was cold and clear. Perfect weather for ending a marriage. Patricia met me at the courthouse. We'd prepared everything in advance. The paperwork was clean, detailed, devastating. "You're sure about this?" she asked one more time. I've never been more sure of anything. We filed, the clerk stamped the documents, and just like that, it was done. Daniel would be served with papers at his office the next day, by a process C. Arver in front of his colleagues. I didn't do it to embarrass him. I did it because Patricia said workplace service was faster and harder to contest. But if it embarrassed him, that was just a bonus. I went home and waited, packed a bag with essentials, clothes, documents, jewelry, things that mattered, put it in my car, just in case he reacted badly. The call came at 2:30 the next afternoon. "What the hell is this?" Daniel's voice was sharp, angry. "You're divorcing me." "Yes." Without even talking to me, without trying to work things out. The hypocrisy was stunning. "There's nothing to work out, Daniel." "That's insane. We've been married for 8 years. You don't just throw that away." "So I'm not throwing it away. You already did that." A silence. "What are you talking about?" he finally said. "Emily." More silence, longer this time. "I don't know what you think you know. I saw you at her apartment. 3 weeks ago, I saw you kiss her." I heard him take a breath, heard the shift in his voice when he realized lying wouldn't work. "It's not what you think." "What is it then?" "It's complicated." I laughed, actually laughed. "No, Daniel, it's actually very simple. You've been having an affair with my sister, and now I'm divorcing you. That's not complicated at all. Can we at least talk about this in person? No. Please, just give me a chance to explain. Explain what? How long it's been going on. How you were planning to leave me for her. How you've been lying to my face every single day. He was quiet. That's what I thought, I said. You'll hear from my attorney. As I hung up, my hands were shaking, my heart was racing, but I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying something heavy and finally set it down. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Emily this time. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. How could you? She said immediately. No hello, no preamble. You're divorcing Daniel without even talking to him. Did he call you crying? He's devastated. Good. You're being cruel. I'm being cruel. The words came out sharp, hard. You slept with my husband, Emily, my husband, and I'm the one being cruel. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how my sister and my husband ended up together behind my back. She was crying now. We didn't mean for it to happen. Oh, well, in that case. My voice dripped with sarcasm. As long as you didn't mean for it to happen, I guess it's fine. We fell in love. Stop. I couldn't listen to this. Couldn't hear her try to romanticize what they'd done. You don't get to make this into some tragic love story. You betrayed me, both of you, and now you get to live with that. I'm still your sister. No, you were my sister. Now you're just someone who hurt me, and I don't keep people like that in my life. I hung up, blocked her number, blocked Daniel's number. Then I sat in the silence of the house. I'd be leaving soon and let myself cry. Not for them, not for what I'd lost. For what I'd believed, for the family I'd thought I had, for the trust that had been shattered. That night, I stayed at a hotel. Couldn't bear to be in that house, surrounded by memories that now felt poisoned. Patricia called me around 8. Daniel's attorney reached out, she said. They want to negotiate. Let them. They're claiming you're being unreasonable, that you should split everything 50-50. What did you say? I said we'd see them in court. Because according to our prenup, which Daniel clearly forgot about, assets acquired before the marriage remain separate. And since you brought significantly more into this marriage than he did, and you've kept meticulous records of your separate contributions, you're walking away with about 70% of the marital assets. I'd forgotten about the prenup. We'd signed it 8 years ago, before the wedding. Daniel had brushed it off as just a formality, something his family lawyer suggested. Now it was going to protect me. How long until this is final? I asked. Depends on how much he fights, but if he's smart, he'll settle. Because the longer this drags out, the worse it looks for him, especially when it comes out that he was having an affair with your sister. You're going to use that. Only if I have to, but yes. Infidelity affects asset division in this state. He knows that. After we hung up, I ordered room service and turned on a mindless TV show. Tried not to think about what Daniel and Emily were doing right now. Were they together, comforting each other, blaming me? Let them. I was done caring what they thought. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. 4 months of lawyers and paperwork and tense emails through attorneys. Daniel tried to fight the prenup, claimed it was signed under duress, that he didn't understand what he was agreeing to. His lawyer argued. My lawyer demolished him with documentation proving Daniel had his own legal counsel review the agreement before signing. He tried to claim he deserved more because he'd supported my career. Patricia laughed when she read that. Supported how? She asked me. I honestly don't know. He worked full-time. I worked full-time. We split household duties pretty evenly, or I thought we did. In the end, the court sided with me. I kept the house, most of our savings, my retirement accounts, everything I'd brought into the marriage plus my fair share of what we'd built together. Daniel got his car, his personal belongings, and about 30% of our joint assets. He was furious. His attorney tried to appeal. Patricia shut it down. Your client committed adultery with the plaintiff's sister, she wrote in a tersely worded response. Any appeal will make that fact part of the public record. I suggest he accept the judgment and move on. The appeal was withdrawn. During those 4 months, I didn't see Daniel or Emily, didn't go to family events, didn't respond to my mother's increasingly desperate calls asking me to work things out with your sister. I couldn't believe my mother was taking Emily's side. Or maybe not taking her side, but trying to play peacemaker. Finally, I called her back. Mom, I'm not working things out with Emily. What she did is unforgivable. And she's your sister. She slept with my husband. She chose him over me. That's not something you just forgive because you share DNA. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice, multiple choices. Every time they met up, every time they lied, every time they touched each other, those were choices. And now I'm making mine. My mother was crying. I don't want to lose both my daughters. You're not losing me, Mom, but I can't be around her. Maybe someday, not now, not for a long time. After we hung up, I felt guilty. My mother didn't deserve to be caught in the middle. But I also couldn't pretend everything was fine, just to make family gatherings less awkward. Some things break in ways that can't be fixed. About 6 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I ran into a mutual friend, someone who'd known both Daniel and me for years. I heard what happened, she said carefully. With Emily, I'm so sorry. Thanks. For what it's worth, everyone thinks they're terrible, what they did. Do you know if they're still together? She hesitated. Yeah, they are. They actually just moved in together. The information hit me harder than I expected. I'd assumed they'd be together, but hearing it confirmed was different. Good for them, I said and meant it. Not in a bitter way, in a genuine, I hope they're happy way. Because their relationship wasn't my problem anymore. My friend looked surprised. You're not angry. I was for a long time, but anger is exhausting, and they're going to have to live with what they did. They're going to build a relationship on a foundation of lies and betrayal. That's their burden, not mine. That's a really mature way to look at it. Or I'm just tired, I laughed. Either way, I'm done caring. And I was. Somewhere in those 4 months of legal battles and sleepless nights, I'd stopped caring about Daniel and Emily and what they had together. I'd started caring about myself again, about my life, my future. I'd started therapy. A good therapist who specialized in betrayal and family trauma, who helped me understand that my worth wasn't tied to whether my husband stayed or my sister was loyal. I'd started going to yoga, meditating, taking long walks, all the cliches of healing that actually worked. I'd started spending time with real friends, people who showed up, who listened, who didn't betray me. And slowly, piece by piece, I started rebuilding. Not the life I had before, That life was gone, built on assumptions that turned out to be false. A new life, one where I knew exactly who I could trust and who I couldn't. Leave a comment below. I read every single one. A year after the divorce, I sold the house. Too many memories, too many rooms that echoed with ghosts of who we used to be. I bought a smaller place across town, a condo with big windows and a view of the city. Modern, clean, completely mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. Bold colors, interesting art, furniture that was beautiful but not practical for a couple. Because I wasn't part of a couple anymore, and I was okay with that. My career flourished. Without the emotional drain of a failing marriage, I had energy to invest in work. I got promoted, started leading bigger projects, made more money. The money didn't fill the void, but it did give me options. Freedom, the ability to build a life entirely on my own terms. I dated a little, nothing serious, just testing the waters, remembering what it felt like to be seen as desirable, interesting, worth pursuing. Some dates were good, some were terrible. All of them taught me something about what I wanted. And what I wanted was different now. I wanted honesty, transparency, someone who said what they meant and meant what they said. I wanted independence, someone with their own life, their own friends, their own interests, who chose to be with me but didn't need me to be complete. I wanted respect, someone who saw my strength and didn't try to diminish it, who celebrated my success instead of feeling threatened by it. I wasn't sure if I'd find that, but I also wasn't in a hurry. I was happy alone, really happy, for the first time in years. About 18 months after the divorce, my mother called. "Emily's getting married," she said quietly. I felt nothing, no pain, no anger, no jealousy. "To Daniel." "Yes." "Good for them." "You're not upset." "Why would I be upset, Mom? I don't want him. I haven't wanted him for a long time." "Will you come to the wedding?" The question surprised me. "You're inviting me to watch my ex-husband marry my sister." "I know it's complicated, but she's still my daughter, and you're still my daughter. I want both of you there." I thought about it, really thought about it. Part of me wanted to say no, to maintain the boundary I'd worked so hard to establish. But another part of me was curious, wanted to see them together, wanted to test whether I really was as over it as I thought. "I'll think about it," I told her. I talked to my therapist about it in our next session. "What do you want to do?" she asked. "I don't know. Part of me thinks going would prove I've moved on, that they don't have power over me anymore. And the other part thinks it's insane to put myself in that situation, that there's no reason to subject myself to it." "Both parts are right," she said. "There's no wrong answer here, only what feels right for you." I decided to go, not for them, for me, to prove to myself that I really had healed. The wedding was small, intimate, at a garden venue that would have been beautiful if I could have separated it from the context. I arrived late, slipped into the back, watched Emily walk down the aisle in a simple white dress. She looked happy, Daniel looked happy, and I felt fine. Not happy for them, not sad for myself, just neutral, like I was watching strangers get married. I didn't stay for the reception. Didn't want to make small talk with relatives about how I was doing or field questions about why Emily and I didn't talk anymore. I congratulated my mother, said I had another commitment, and left. On the drive home, I felt proud of myself. I'd done something hard, faced a situation that would have destroyed me 2 years ago. And I'd survived it, more than survived. I'd been completely unaffected. That night, I went home to my condo, poured a glass of wine, and sat on my balcony watching the city lights. I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the divorce, the slow, painful process of healing. And I realized something important. Daniel and Emily hadn't destroyed me. They'd freed me. Freed me from a marriage that was already dying. Freed me from the burden of family loyalty that only went one direction. Freed me from the version of myself who tried to make everyone happy at the expense of her own well-being. I was stronger now, clearer, more certain of what I wanted and what I wouldn't accept. Would I have chosen this path? Absolutely not. But now that I was here, I wouldn't trade it, wouldn't go back to who I was before. Because that version of me was smaller, quieter, less sure of her own worth. This version knew exactly what she was worth and refused to settle for less. Subscribe to the channel for more real-life emotional journeys like this one. 2 years after the divorce, I met someone. His name was Marcus. We met at a professional conference, started talking over coffee, kept talking through dinner, exchanged numbers and stayed in touch. He lived in another city, which made things simple. No pressure, no expectations, just easy conversations and occasional visits. He knew about my divorce, about the betrayal. I'd told him early on, wanting to be upfront about my history. That must have been brutal, he said. It was, but I survived it. More than survived, from what I can see. What do you mean? You seem like someone who knows exactly who she is. That's rare. I liked that he saw that in me, that my strength was visible, not something I had to prove. We dated long distance for a year. Slow, careful, both of us guarding hearts that had been broken before. But somewhere along the way, I started to trust him. Started to believe that not everyone would hurt me the way Daniel and Emily had. He never pushed, never demanded more than I could give, just showed up consistently, honestly, exactly as he was. It was such a contrast to Daniel, who'd been charming but unreliable, who'd said all tea. He right things but never followed through. Marcus followed through, every time. Eventually, he got a job offer in my city, asked if I'd want him to take it. I don't want you to move for me, I said. I'm not moving for you, I'm moving for us. There's a difference. We got engaged 2 years into our relationship, married a year after that. Small ceremony, close friends only, nothing elaborate. Because I didn't need the big wedding or the grand gestures. I just needed someone who showed up, who was honest, who chose me every single day. My mother came to the wedding, my father too. Emily wasn't invited. My mother asked about it beforehand. Are you ever going to forgive her? I don't know, Mom, maybe someday, but today isn't that day. She asks about you sometimes. What does she ask? If you're happy, if you're okay. I thought about that. You can tell her I'm both, and that I hope she is too. Because I did hope that, not out of magnanimity or superior forgiveness, just because carrying around hate for her had become exhausting. I'd let go of the anger not because she deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. Marcus and I built a good life together, different from what I had with Daniel, better. We bought a house, combined our lives carefully, thoughtfully, with clear communication about everything. We had hard conversations about money, about boundaries, about what we each needed to feel safe in the relationship. We went to couples therapy preemptively. Not because we had problems, but because we wanted to build something that would last. And it worked, we worked. 3 years into our marriage, I ran into Daniel. Random encounter, coffee shop. He was in line ahead of me. "Hey," he said, surprised. "How are you?" "Good, you?" "Good, yeah, Emily and I just bought a house. We're good." "I'm glad." He looked like he wanted to say something else. Apologize, maybe, or explain, or ask for forgiveness. But I didn't need any of that. Didn't need his apologies or explanations. "Take care, Daniel," I said. And I meant it. I genuinely hoped he was happy, hoped they both were. Not because I'd forgiven them, but because their happiness or unhappiness didn't affect me anymore. They were just people I used to know, part of a chapter that was closed. I told Marcus about the encounter that evening. "How did it feel?" he asked. "Like nothing, like running into an old acquaintance." "That's good, right?" "Yeah, it is." He pulled me close. "I'm proud of you for how you've handled all of this, for choosing to heal instead of staying bitter." "I didn't always handle it well." "Nobody does, but you kept moving forward. That's what matters." I thought about that, about the journey from discovery to devastation to healing. It hadn't been linear. There were days I backslid, days I was angry all over again, days I wondered if I'd ever feel normal. But I'd kept going, kept choosing myself, kept building a life that was mine. And now, 5 years later, I was happy. Really, genuinely happy. Not despite what happened. Not because I'd gotten revenge or proven something. Just happy because I'd done the work, faced the pain, let go of what no longer served me, and built something new in its place. 6 years after the divorce, my father got sick. Cancer, aggressive, the kind that makes you count days instead of years. My mother called me in tears. "Can you come home? I need you." I went, immediately, because whatever had happened with Emily, my parents didn't deserve to suffer alone. Emily was already there when I arrived, at our childhood home, in the kitchen making coffee. We stared at each other. First time we'd been in the same room in years. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi." Awkward silence. "How's Dad?" I asked. "Sleeping. The pain medication makes him tired." I nodded, went to his room, sat beside his bed and held his hand. He looked so much older, so fragile. Nothing like the strong, vital man who taught me to ride a bike and fix a car and stand up for myself. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I existed in the same space. Not friends, not enemies, just 2 daughters taking care of their dying father. We didn't talk about what had happened, didn't rehash the betrayal or attempt reconciliation. We just coexisted. One night, after Dad had a particularly bad day, we ended up on the back porch together. Both too exhausted to maintain our usual distance. "I'm sorry," Emily said suddenly. "For everything. I know it doesn't matter now. I know it's too late, but I need you to know that I'm sorry." I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in years. She looked older too, tired, sad. "Are you happy?" I asked. "With Daniel?" She hesitated. Sometimes, other times I wonder if it was worth it, what we destroyed to be together. Is he still the same person? Mostly, but sometimes I catch him looking at other women, and I wonder if he's PL. Anning his next exit, if I'm just a placeholder until someone better comes along. Does he know you think that? No, I don't talk about it. Just like you probably didn't talk about your doubts before you found out. I thought about that, about the cycle we'd created, about karma and consequences and whether they were together because they loved each other or because they were bound by guilt. I don't hate you, I said finally. I did for a long time, but I don't anymore. Do you forgive me? I don't know, maybe someday, but I do hope you're happy, or that you will be, because carrying around the weight of what you did seems like punishment enough. She started crying. I miss you. I miss having a sister. I miss it too, but we can't go back to what we were. Too much has changed. Could we be something different, something new? I thought about it, really thought about it. Could we? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe, but it would take time, a lot of time, and it would never be the same. As I know. We sat in silence, not comfortable but not hostile either. My father died 2 weeks later, surrounded by family, peaceful. At the funeral, Emily and I stood next to each other, supported our mother, accepted condolences from people who probably wondered why we weren't closer. After everyone left, Emily approached me. Thank you for being here, for Mom, for all of us. Of course, he was my father too. I know it wasn't easy, being around me, around Daniel. No, it wasn't, but it was the right thing to do. She nodded, hesitated, then, could we maybe have coffee sometime, not to fix everything, just to talk? I looked at her, at my sister who'd betrayed me, but was also grieving and broken and human. Maybe, I said, someday, not now, but maybe someday. Okay, that's enough. We hugged, brief, tentative, the hug of two people who used to be close but weren't anymore. And it was enough, for now. I went home to Marcus, to my life, to the peace I'd built. And I felt settled, like a chapter I'd thought was permanently closed might eventually open again. Just a crack, just enough to let a little light in. But not today, not yet. Someday. Maybe. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. 7 years after the divorce, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Emily. I know you said maybe someday we could talk. Is today that day? I stared at the message for a long time. Was it? I'd built a good life, a happy marriage, a successful career. I'd healed from what she and Daniel had done. Did I want to reopen this? Risk disturbing the peace I'd fought so hard to achieve? But I also thought about my father's funeral, about the brief moment of connection we'd shared, about the fact that we only get one family and mine was small. I called Marcus, told him about the text. What do you want to do? He asked. I don't know. Part of me thinks I've moved on enough to handle it. Part of me thinks I'm crazy for even considering it. There's no right answer, only what feels right for you. That's what I loved about him. He never told me what to do, just supported whatever I decided. I texted back, coffee, public place, this week. We met at a neutral cafe. Neither of us arrived early. Both of us were punctual to the minute. She looked nervous. I probably did too. Thank you for coming, she said. I'm not sure why I did. Honestly, me neither. I needed to try, to see if there was any possibility of us having some kind of relationship again. Why, you have Daniel, you have your life. She looked down at her coffee. Daniel and I separated 3 months ago. I blinked, genuinely surprised. What happened? He cheated with someone from his work. I found texts. Same pattern as before. Lies, excuses, all of it. The irony was almost overwhelming. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. Not sorry for her pain, exactly, but sorry that the relationship she destroyed ours for had ended the same way it began. "The worst part is I knew," she continued. "I knew he was capable of it. I'd watched him do it to you, but I convinced myself it was different with us, that we had something special. And now you know you didn't. Now I know that a man who will cheat with you will cheat on you. That relationships built on betrayal don't have solid foundations." We sat in silence for a moment. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I finally understand what I took from you. Not just a husband, trust, security, the belief that the people closest to you won't hurt you. I understand that now because I'm living it." Is this an apology? It's an attempt at one. I know words aren't enough, that nothing I say will undo what I did, but I need you to know that I'm sorry, that I've carried the weight of what I did every single day for C. Then years, that I would take it back if I could. I believed her. She looked genuinely remorseful, broken in a way that only comes from consequences catching up to you. "I appreciate you saying that," I said carefully, "but I need you to understand something. I've built a life without you in it, a good life, and letting you back in, even a little bit, is scary, because you proved that you're capable of hurting me in the worst possible way." As I know. So if we're going to try to have any kind of relationship, and I'm not saying we are, it would have to be slow, with boundaries, with the understanding that I might never fully trust you again. I understand, and I'll take whatever you're willing to give, even if it's just coffee twice a year. I thought about it, about whether I wanted this, whether I needed it. The truth was, I didn't need it. I had enough family, enough love, enough connection. But maybe I wanted it, a little. Not to go back to being the sisters we were. That was impossible. But to build something new, something honest and bounded and real. "We can try," I said finally, "but I need you to understand this is a gift, one I'm choosing to give, not because you deserve it, but because I'm ready to offer it." "Thank you," she whispered. "I won't waste it." We finished our coffee, made vague plans to meet again in a few months. When I left, I felt lighter but also cautious. Like I'd opened a door, but was standing guard to make sure nothing unwanted came through. I told Marcus about it that evening. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Okay, good actually. Like I'm strong enough to handle this now. Like she can't hurt me anymore because I won't let her." And that's growth. Or maybe it's just exhaustion. Maybe I'm tired of holding onto the grudge. Maybe it's both. Over the next year, Emily and I met for coffee every few months, kept it light, talked about work, about our parents, about neutral topics. We didn't become close, didn't share secrets or lean on each other in hard times. But we became cordial, civil, two sisters who acknowledged their shared history without being defined by it. It was enough. More than enough, actually. Because I'd learned something important through all of this. Forgiveness doesn't have to mean forgetting. Reconciliation doesn't have to mean complete restoration. Sometimes it just means letting go of the anger, creating a new relationship on your own terms, holding onto your boundaries while still extending grace. And that was what I was doing, not for her, for me. Because holding onto hate was exhausting, and I'd rather spend that energy building my life than protecting my grudge. 8 years after the divorce, I was happy. really, truly happy. I had Marcus. I had my career. I had friends who'd proven their loyalty. I had a relationship with Emily that was imperfect but genuine. And I had myself, stronger, wiser, clearer than I'd ever been. The betrayal that almost destroyed me had instead transformed me, taught me about resilience and boundaries and self-worth. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, wouldn't choose to go through it again. But I also wouldn't trade who I'd become because of it. Because sometimes the worst things that happen to us teach us the most important lessons about who we are, what we deserve, how strong we can be. And in the end, that knowledge is worth more than any relationship we lose along the way.